Hey, welcome back to Mother Clucker's Keto Kitchen. Tonight we're going to be making cheeseburger soup. First thing we're going to do is I'm actually going to be doubling this recipe so that I can freeze some of it if it doesn't get ate tonight. Hopefully it doesn't. That way I have some leftovers. I'm going to go ahead and start frying up some burgers. So I've got 2 pounds of burger in here, and we'll go ahead and get that started. And it is hot, I'll tell you that right now. And as this fries, I'm actually, it's kind of frozen a little bit still. So we'll let this fry a little bit here. And I'll kind of tell you what's going to be going into this. We're going to be putting 4 cups of, I'm going to be using chicken stock. You can use chicken stock, beef stock, vegetable stock, whatever it is that you have on hand. It doesn't really matter. It might change the flavor just a little bit, but not a whole lot. But I'm going to be using 4 cups of chicken stock. I have a jar of tomatoes here. These are homegrown tomatoes that I canned. This is roughly about 1.5 cups that I'm going to be putting in there. We're going to be using scallions. Those will be going on last so that somebody can actually eat this. I'll be using bay leaves, 2 of those, 2 teaspoons of mustard seed, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 2 cloves of garlic minced up, and this is about 1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper that we're going to add so we can have a little bit of spice. I'm also going to be using a tablespoon of ghee, which is just the clarified butter. At the end of that, we are going to be putting in some sour cream and some Monterey Jack cheese. And a Monterey Jack cheese, it's a semi-hard cheese that has a little bit of sweetness in it, which is really good for this dish. And then we'll salt and pepper, season as we need it, and kind of go from there. This is a recipe that I've made in the Instapot. Instapot is really quick, but the stove method is a little better, makes it more tasty. And if I could put a little bit of onion in it, it would be even more tastier. So this is coming along. We'll just chop this up. So for most of you, we'll let that fry up there. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit. So for most of you know that we were doing some filming not too long ago. Might have been 3-4 months ago, and then we quit. Not sure really why we quit. It was just, I think, just a process of different things going on. In that meantime, I had quit doing keto because what happened was I had been doing strict keto. I kind of strayed. I went to dirty keto, the lazy keto, started eating more crap that I wasn't supposed to, and then finally I was eating everything in sight that was not keto, so hence I hadn't been doing it. I tried another program thinking that it was going to help. It really didn't help at all. Most of my pain came back. In fact, a lot of my pain came back. I started getting really, it just hurt. All my joints were hurting. Those of you who don't know, I have fibromyalgia and I have rheumatoid arthritis. So all of that pain came back, and it was just difficult to get out of bed. I started gaining all kinds of weight. Now, since I've been back on keto, and I've been on this again for 4 weeks, almost 4 weeks, almost a month. Most of my pain is gone again. I started losing weight. A lot of the inflammation is going down, which is freaking awesome because it makes me feel so much better. And I'm also in a better mood. You can ask those around me. I'm not such a witch. All right, so 2 pounds of burger, and this is a 80-20. So there is going to be some fat in here and grease. I am not draining any of this off, none of it. It's all going to stay in this soup. That's part of all the flavor of this. So it's almost there. At this time, at this point, if I had onions, I'd be putting onions in there, and you just do 2 tablespoons. You don't want to do any more than that. 2 tablespoons of just diced or minced onions, whatever type of onion that you want. I prefer white because the yellow ones have a little bit more sweetness and carbs and sugar in them. All right, so now this is all browned. It is not burnt brown, but it is brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding in some of these spices. We're going to let these kind of cook together and marry, and then we will be good to go. So we're going to put in 2 teaspoons, move this, 2 teaspoons of mustard seed, 2 teaspoons of paprika, whew, getting hot on the lens, 2 teaspoons of chili powder. And you want to use your own spices. That way there's no sugar in this. And then there's 2 cloves of garlic that's been minced. I'm going to give this a quick little whirl in here and get this kind of mixed up. The bubbly will probably slow down as soon as you add stuff to things. It kind of slows down. See how good that looks? It smells pretty good. All right, so to that, we're going to add a tablespoon of ghee, which is just basically clarified butter. Mine has been a little melty, so we're going to try and do this over here. And this is going to add flavor and that extra little bit of fat that we want. So I'll set that over there. Put my lid back on, wipe my hands off, and then we will get this stirred in. And then I'm going to turn the heat back up just a little bit to 6, and it automatically just gets to going. Then I'm going to add about 1.5 teaspoons of some heat here. This is just some red pepper flakes. If you want to, you can use a small amount of serrano chili pepper, or you can use about maybe a medium-sized jalapeno. Get that stirring in there. And this is actually going to start browning some of the meat too, even in all this. So we'll get that done. All right, so that's good. I'm going to turn it down to medium. I'm going to add in, since this is already cooked, I'm going to add in 4 cups of chicken stock. And like I said, you can use chicken stock, beef stock, vegetable stock. I prefer the chicken. Or you can use bone broth too, whichever one you want. It's fine. So all of a sudden, there's no more bubbly. We'll stir that. To that, I'm going to take my little thing. I'm going to add 2 cups of water. We're going to pour that in there. Stir that around. And then in my handy dandy fridge, I have sour cream and some heavy whipping cream. Sour cream is about 1/2 cup, 2 ounces, or no, 4 ounces, sorry. I need to learn to add. So what we're gonna do is put that on the heat. We're gonna put the 4 ounces in here and get it all out. I pre-measured everything so we didn't have to sit and wait and you didn't have to watch. That's usually no fun. All right, so we have that. To that, I'll shake this up really good. Let's see if this comes off. I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. And this is what's gonna make it pretty yummy besides cheese. Then we're just gonna add that in. All right, put that in there. We're gonna stir this. Now it's looking really creamy. You can see a lot of the fat floating on top. I'm gonna turn the heat back up. We're gonna boil this baby. And as that's boiling, we're gonna add a bay leaf. Bay leaf is gonna add a distinct flavor to it. Instead of one big one, I'm gonna use 2 smaller ones. Remember to pull these out though when you're done. You wanna take those out. We'll get those in there. Put these up. Stir that real good. And then we're going to add these tomatoes. See if I can get this open. And I did. Do this without splashing everywhere. Alright. We got all that in. So what we're going to do now is this is going to come to a boil. We're going to boil it for about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes or so. We're going to come back, we're going to take a look at that, then we're going to add in our cheese, and we should be ready to go. Thanks. Alright, welcome back to Mother Clucker's Keto Kitchen. We've let this boil for about 10 minutes or so. I added a little bit, about two teaspoons of xanthan gum to this, just to make it a little thicker. You do not have to. And then if those of you who actually use this, you can see it kind of floating around in here. It'll actually dissolve. It'll dissipate. It takes some time, but it will dissipate. Has no taste to it or anything like that. You don't have to. Like I said, those of you who use it, you know the benefits of it. It's like starch, like when you're doing making gravy or something like that. This is basically the same thing without the sugar, the flour, and all that other junk. All right, so I am going to attempt, I may not, there, oh, there's one. I'm going to attempt to pull those bay leaves out. We don't want to eat those, that wouldn't be good. I just got to find the other one. There it is. I'm going to pull that out. And that will give it a distinct taste. It's kind of like making pot roast or something like that. You always want to throw that bay leaf in there. It makes all the difference. So right now, this is looking like this. This has no cheese or anything in it. It's just the meat and all of that. Tomatoes. It actually looks pretty good. So now, what we're going to do is add 3 cups of Monterey Jack cheese. If I can get it open. This is, I pre-shredded this already. And we're going to add this just a little bit at a time so it doesn't get really clumpy. And we're going to keep stirring this because that xanthan gum, as it slowly dissolves in here, takes a little bit longer usually than flour. This will actually get thicker and thicker. So we're going to add about a handful at a time. And like I said, this is 3 cups. This is a doubled recipe. So for just a single, just cut everything in half. You can use pepper jack cheese in here. That would be really good. Don't use regular cheddar cheese. It's way too oily. It won't melt. It's a harder cheese than Monterey. Swiss, I don't know how good that would be in here. It's a really soft cheese too, so I'm not really sure if that would be any good. Never tried that. So, but Monterey Jack is a semi hard. It's not a hard like a cheddar. Alright, I'm making a mess. I'm going to put a couple of them in there. This is melting pretty good actually. And you'll know that when you put cheddar in something it gets stringy and it clumps together. That's not what you want. You want it so that it stays nice and smooth like this. This is what it should look like. And I'm going to turn this heat up just a wee bit. And then we're going to add some more. And those of you using or doing strict keto, or I don't know what they call it, just a regular keto. This is not lazy keto, not dirty keto. People that do lazy keto and dirty keto, they will eat low carb tortillas that have flour in them. They will eat corn because it's a vegetable. Anybody that does keto truly knows that that's not keto. It's kind of frowned upon, but there's a lot of people that just can't do it, or just can't do without, I guess I should say, or they don't want to do without. I don't know. All right. So we've got 3 cups of Monterey Jack cheese in here. And I'm going to go ahead and put these onions in here. Now these are dehydrated ones. You can use fresh ones if you want. I like these better, depending on, I guess, what I'm making. For soups, I like the dehydrated ones, sorry. All right, you can see how it's coming along now. I'll stick my little spoon in here. It's looking really good. It's a cheesy mess in here now. And because my son is not going to be eating this, he told me there's just too many tomatoes and he doesn't like rabbit food, so he wouldn't be a good keto person. I am going to put all those in there. Get that stirred up. Whoops. So it's starting to come to a boil now, again. And we're going to incorporate this. At this point, with all the cheese in here, you want to keep stirring it because it will burn on the bottom. Cheese will burn no matter what kind of pan you have. I don't care how non-stick it is. The cheese will burn. All right, and I'm going to turn it back down because there's another secret to doing cheese. Is you want to fluctuate your temperatures and keep it usually on the low side, and that way it doesn't end up like a cheddar cheese and stringy and oily. And this, it looks really good. And that's all there is to this. Fast and simple. We're going to set that there. Let me wipe this up. I've got melted cheese over here. I'm going to pull this off of the heat. I'm actually going to turn it off. That way it doesn't sit here and burn. Whew. There we go. I'm going to keep stirring it for just a little bit. Those things will start to settle. There's tomatoes in here. The ones that I used are kind of like a stewed. They're kind of stewed. They're just basically, they were whole tomatoes that I just shoved in the jar, and they, of course, they burst and then they come apart in the jar as they're getting pressure cooked. So when they're in here, they even fall apart more. You can put a diced tomato in here if you want. That's fine. Whatever kind you want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit in here, and we'll see if we can, see if I can burn myself really good. Ooh. One might be able to burn me. This looks really, really good. And this is the end product. I am not taking a bite right now because it's hot like lava, as I say. But it's good. Cheeseburger soup. That's all there is to it. If you want, you can add mustard on top of it. You can see a little bit of the cheese in there, still in there. You can put, like I said, you can put mustard on there. You can put the diced onions on there if you want. Get rid of these. You can put diced lettuce on there. Romaine is probably one of the better ones because it's a heartier lettuce. That's it. And you can see my spoon was cold, so the cheese actually is sticking to there. And that's it. And I've had, wanted to do one more thing before I leave today. I had some people ask me before how I check my ketones, how if I know I'm in ketosis, things like that. So what I have is, I'll bring it over here, I have what's called a Keto Mojo machine that I use. And this takes a blood sample. Urine sticks are no good. Your body, once you stop eating all the sugar and all the carbs, your body actually produces ketones. So that's what's going to be in your blood. You're going to continually pee that out no matter what. You're always going to have them on there. So you're never really going to know your true level. This will give you a true level. This is through blood. They also make the breathalyzer meters. It's kind of like an alcohol breathalyzer. You blow into it and it takes the acetone out of your breath and it measures that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Usually I do this, my best results, I've never done this late at night, so we'll see how it registers. I don't know. Usually I do this right before lunch or whatever, and I do it maybe once a week just to kind of keep track, but that's usually when I peak in my ketones to see how it is. Tonight we'll see. It may not even register. If it doesn't, that's fine. I know I'm in ketosis. We'll wait for this to come on. It'll flash. And if you're squeamish, don't watch. I'm going to poke myself. And it's just a little drop of blood. It's like doing a blood sugar test. And we'll wait for it to count down. I think this goes from 10 to whatever. Yep. So I'm 1.0. So that is, I am in ketosis. So I run lower at night than I do in the afternoon. Usually most people's levels are highest in the morning. I've noticed mine are the highest usually right before lunch. Put this over here so we don't have that everywhere. So you want your ranges, once it's up from 0.6 and up, you're in ketosis. Optimal range is usually anywhere, I think 1.3 to 3. Anything over 3.0, you're in starvation mode. That's starvation ketosis. You don't want that. Once it goes up to 4 and 5, and if it gets any higher, it could lead to ketoacidosis. It can kill you. So you have to be really careful with what you're doing. Sorry, my finger. Nope, it quit bleeding. And keep an eye on that. If you're feeling bad, you know, if all you have is a pea stuck, just do it. But I highly recommend either one of these or one of the breathalyzer ones to measure your ketones in your breath or in your blood. Those are usually, that's the only true way you're going to get it. Because like I said, when you go to the bathroom and you're peeing on that stick, your body's already it's just full of ketones. So it's just going to constantly, that's all that's there anymore. You don't have any sugar in there if you've been doing strict keto. So anyway, tidbits of information. This is what I do, and that's how I know. It is a little bit lower tonight. Like I said, maybe one day I'll do it in the before I have my lunch or whatever, because it's usually about 2.0 before I have lunch, and then I can show you at that point what that is. So I know that I'm in range at that point. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this recipe. I know I am. I'm going to go eat some right now and get this stuff cleaned up, and we will see you next week. Have a good night. Bye.